quem quiser assistir.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a while. So, yeah, we don't have any news today. And the only one, actually, is that last week, instead of a normal study group, we had our lecture for this month. So we had a lecturer that was here, and then we said, oh, we want to do 2 lectures, for us. And then now he's back to Brazil. So yeah, it was really good. And yeah, so we can start our study meeting today. So the lecture is Review Yourself from Living Springs, chapter 31. In your daily struggles, do not demand politeness from your companion. Demonstrate yours. Referring to good deeds, do not await for collaboration. Before all else, be the first to collaborate. In trivial tasks, do not demand the effort of others. Show your own goodwill. In jobs that require understanding, do not ask your neighbor to rise to your level. Learn to descend to his and help him. When performing Christian duties, do not wait for outside resources to fulfill them. The best thing that you can give to good works is your own heart. In the ordinary dealings of life, do not wait for others to reveal their excellent qualities. Express the elevated gifts that you already possess. Sorry, no problem. In the ordinary dealings of life, do not wait for your others to reveal their excellent qualities. Express the limited gifts that you already possess. In every earthly creature, there exists light and shadow. Allow your nobility to become conspicuous in order to nobility of others may come to your encounter. Thank you.
I have a remote time to myself.
So now let's go to the initial prayer. Please close your eyes, calm your hearts, take a deep breath. Dear God, lovely Master Jesus, we'd like to thank you for this opportunity to be here today, to learn a little bit more about your teachings. Let us elevate our thought, connect to the good spirits, so we can be inspired and learn the best we can today. Stay with us always, so be it. Okay, so 3 weeks ago, we stopped on the third part of what part is the dots. How do you name that? I don't remember.
Chapter?
It's chapter 27, but
Topic.
the topic, yeah, the third topic. Item. So we start the topic 27, sorry, the chapter 27, and it's a collection of prayers in the gospel. And who want to give us like a quick summary of those 3 first items? Who was here 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think that one is kind of a continuation of the previous chapter where we studied prayer and we learned Spiritism showed us like characteristics of the prayer, that the prayer is for all of us. It's very accessible, it's very easy. There is no complicated words, doesn't need to be specific. So as long as we do from our heart with a good intention, that's the real prayer, sincere, and it's available and it's super easy for every one of us. Also, is no much point asking for material things. So prayer is something spiritual, so it's more related to the moral and to things that we can ask help, courage, patience, and things that are spiritual rather than material. So that was yeah, a little bit of the previous chapter. And in this one, so there is some examples of prayers because sometimes people don't know exactly where to start, how to do. So they are specific for situations or for specific situations. And what we'll start reading was about the Lord's Prayer, which in Portuguese would be Pai Nosso, which is one of the most popular prayers, I'd say, well known.
Yes.
And that prayer is very simple, straightforward, and is one that we can use if we don't know what to say. And it's a very wise prayer given to us by Jesus. So at the moment, that is what we are studying, pretty much.
Yeah. And all those prayers, they have like an introduction and then the prayer. So in the introduction, you can learn more about how, why you do that prayer and what you have to think about alongside your reading, because like we studied before, the prayer is just our feelings, our thoughts that we can elevate to God. And that's the most important thing. It's not the words, but the feeling that you're going to carry on in your prayer. And the only exception is the what is the name of the
Lord's Prayer, yeah.
Because it's split in parts, and each part has his own commentary, and then you can learn more about that specific part, and that's where we are at the moment.
That's number 3. So
yeah,
I don't think that's right. 3 prayer, item 3 prayer. No, the chapter is 27. No, 28. Sorry, chapter 28, not 27.
Yeah.
That was the previous one. That's all right. I think you are in the wrong chapter.
Oh, what was that? What? Remember doing anything? There. Yeah, that was 28.
Yes, 28. There's live
and
and on social media.
There.
Yes, perfect. That's the one.
Carol, can you read the 1 and 2, please?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
The prayer. 1. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. O Lord, we believe in you because everything reveals your power and goodness. The harmony of the universe bears witness to a wisdom, prudence, and providence that surpasses all human abilities. The name of one supremely great and wise being is written on all the works of creation, from the blade of grass and the smallest insect to the heavenly bodies that travel through space. Everywhere we see the proof of a paternal solicitude, and that is why those who do not recognize you in your works are blind. Those who do not glorify you are proud, and those who do not render thanks to you are ungrateful. Thy kingdom come. Lord, you have given to men and women laws filled with wisdom that would make them happy if they would only observe them. With these laws, they would make peace and justice reign. They would help one another rather than harm one another as they do. The strong would uphold the weak rather than crush them. They would avoid the ills that engender abuses and excesses of all kinds. All the miseries of this world result from the violation of your laws. For there is not one single infraction that does not entail unavoidable consequences. You have given animals the instinct that marks the limit of their needs, and they mechanically conform to it. To humans, however, besides instinct, you gave them intelligence and reason. You have also given them the freedom to obey or violate those of your laws that concern them personally. That is, to choose between good and evil, in order to have the merit and take responsibility for their acts. No one can feign ignorance of your laws, because in your paternal providence you have you have willed for them to be engraved in each other's conscience, regardless of religion or nationality. Those who violate them do so because they do not acknowledge you. A day will come when, according to your promise, everyone will abide by them. Then disbelief will have disappeared. All will acknowledge you as the supreme Lord of all things, and the reign of your laws will be your reign on the earth. O Lord, deign to hasten its coming by giving people the light needed to direct them on the pathway of truth.
Thank you. Do you have any comments on those two?
So it's just breaking down the prayer, right? And I always find quite interesting when they explain a little bit on the gospel and talk about something and then explain to us what it's about. And like Alcione was saying before, why it's so important that we understand what we are praying, what we are saying when we are praying. And so many times with something like the God's Prayer is quite easy to just repeat and not feel it. And how can we pray with intention if we don't understand what we're saying? So it's quite interesting to go through sentence by sentence. And obviously they're using the very old English there, so like thy kingdom come, and that's probably not how we would do it anymore, but the way we do it still has the same meaning. The meaning of the prayer is still the same, so the words changed, but the meaning is still there. And how up to date it is, even though it's so old, it's been around for such a long time, and it still makes so much sense. And we studied the Lord's Prayer last year in the kids study that we have on Sunday, and it was quite funny how even the words that we have now were difficult for them. Lots of them have difficulty understanding some parts of it, and how lots of the words have different meanings. And if we want to understand the general idea, we need to look into it as a whole, not each sentence could be interpreted in different ways. So that's quite interesting that it's breaking down. But if we read this at once, we see that even though it's analyzed part by part, everything kind of complements what is coming next. So this first couple sentences are the whole prayer is really interesting. How every single word in there, it's like a poem. Every single word in there has a meaning and has a reason to be there. So the whole thing is important, but those couple of sentences really set the tone on what is coming next, or how do you start. And so in this first paragraph, he talks about, so who are we praying to? Who are we talking to when we say this is the Lord's Prayer, God our Father? And then he talks about how merciful and fair, and that's why we're calling him Father when we refer to God, because this paternal idea that we have about God, and how he is responsible for creating everything that we can see and reach here on earth. And then when talks about the second sentence, talks about kingdom, and then it defines a little bit about what earth looks like right now, and why we refer it as a kingdom, as God being the creator of it, and how our role here on earth is that all of us will keep evolving, and this will actually turn into what we would probably imagine as a kingdom being, not like right now, as we are not very evolved spirits yet, and we see so many bad things still happening, but that we're going towards a future where we will actually resemble more of what we would call a kingdom or the kingdom of heaven, right? So that we're gonna go evolving towards something that will resemble more and more the spiritual plan, that will resemble more and more an evolved world. So that is our job to keep moving forward towards that. So it's not that heaven will come to earth, is that we will keep evolving and will be closer to what we call the kingdom of heaven in this prayer. But that it just means an evolved planet, right? Good. So we just pass along, and if anyone wants to make a comment, you go ahead. If not, we can just keep passing.
Good chance.
Yeah, one special point here that no one can find ignorance of your law, because in your pattern of providence you have willed for them to be engraved in each one conscious, regardless of religion or nationality. So indeed, everyone, regardless how much they study or where they live or their education, so everyone is can judge what is wrong, what's right in situations. So where does this feeling come from? From exactly from the law that is engraved in our heart. So it's a self-defense sense that comes with us.
Yeah, as Carol said, it's really we started the prayer by recognize the power of God, the supreme intelligence, and really praising God, talking about God's wisdom, talking about God's superiority comparing to us. So that's is what the first one is talking about. And the second one, I think, is more towards the laws as well. So the divine law, as Guilherme was talking about, that we have in our conscience. And of course, they develop further. So according to our evolution, this will be more easier for us to access those laws, easier to understand as well. So they are there, but sometimes just in a latent state, and sometimes they are half developed and then is not fully developed yet. So that's why many times we kind of know what's right or what's wrong, but we don't have that certainty, and we don't have that enough willpower to just, okay, I'm going to do it this way. And that develops with our evolution as well. But yeah, it's really about us, and it's important for us recognizing God's superiority, because He's really the Father, the Creator, and the superior intelligence. So it's yeah, and that is important to do as well.
Thank you, Ocean. Yeah, I don't have much to add. So a prayer has three elements, and we are talking about those elements. So the first one is worship. So we can see on that first part here, we are worshiping God just by saying, "Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name," and then the explanation of that. We can be grateful. So the things that we have here, the things that happen in your life, and then we can ask for things as well. So you can see that in this prayer, you can see all the three elements. Here is more focused on the worship part, on that second one. It's starting the gratefulness for what we have and what we can achieve. Like Carol was saying, one day we get there, but right now we are still on our way. We are evolving little by little, but yeah, that's it. Cool, so let's keep going. And you read that third one. So, how you say that first one? That?
Thigh.
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 Yeah, it's
Very important.
Thank you. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. If obedience is children's duty towards their parents, or subordinates towards their superiors, how much greater it is the duty of creatures toward their Creator. Doing your will, O Lord, is to obey your laws and to be obedient without complaining against your divine decrees. People will become obedient when they understand that you are the fount of all wisdom and that without you they can do nothing. Then they shall do your will on earth as the elect do in heaven. 4. Give us the day our daily bread. Give us nourishment for maintaining the strength of our body. Give us also spiritual nourishment for the development of our spirit. The animal finds its pasture, but humans depend on their own activity and the resources of their intelligence because you have created them free. You said to them, you shall earn your nourishment from the earth with the sweat of your brow. Thus you made labor an obligation so that they may exert their intelligence in seeking the means of providing for their needs and well-being. Some through physical labor and others through intellectual labor. Without labor, they would remain at a standstill and could not aspire to the bliss of the high order spirits. You aid people of goodwill who trust in you for necessities, but not those who take pleasure in idleness and who would like to receive everything without any effort, nor those who seek the superfluous. See chapter 25. How many there are who succumb through their own fault, their negligence, their lack of foresight, or their ambition, and for not wanting to be content with what you have given them. They are the artisans of their own misfortune, and they have no right to complain, because they are being punished for their sins. However, you do not forsake even these, because you are infinitely merciful. You extend to them a helping hand as long as, like the prodigal son, they sincerely return to you. Before we lament our fate, let us ask ourselves if it is not of our own doing. At each misfortune that befalls us, let us ask ourselves if it was not up to us to avoid it. But let us also say that God has given us the intelligence we need to lift ourselves out of any sloth, and that it is up to us to use it. Since the law of labor is a requirement for humankind on earth, give us the courage and the strength to fulfill it. Give us prudence, foresight, and moderation, so that we may not lose the fruit of our labor. Therefore, O Lord, give us our daily bread, that is, the means to acquire through labor the things we need for life. For no one has the right to request what it is superfluous. If labor is impossible for us, we will entrust ourselves to your divine providence. If it is your will to test us by means of most crushing privations, in spite of our efforts, we will accept them as a just expiation for the wrongs we have committed in this life or in a previous one, because you are just. We know that there are no undeserving punishments and that you never punish without cause. Dear God, keep us from being envious toward those who have what we do not, or towards those who have what is superfluous, while we lack what is necessary. Forgive them if they forget the law of charity and love for one's neighbor that you taught. Moreover, keep from our spirit the thought of denying your justice when we see the prosperity of the wicked and the misfortune that sometimes crushes good persons. Thanks to the new enlightenment that has pleased you to give us, we now know that your justice is always fulfilled and never fails anymore. That the material prosperity of the wicked is as fleeting as their corporeal existence, and that they will suffer terrible reversals, whereas the joy reserved for those who suffer with resignation will be everlasting. Oh, this is a big one. So, going back to the topic, the third sentence, thy will done on earth as it is in heaven. I think it's completing what we discussed before about the kingdom. So it should be done everything on earth as in heaven, and it's saying about what is God is doing, and it's really short here, and that we should be obedient because we know that His laws are the real ones. Let's say it's the path that we have to follow to evolve to become better persons, and that's the idea of this sentence. And then it starts talking about the daily bread, and you can see that the daily bread has a lot of meaning behind of it. It's starting talking about the material bread and the spiritual bread as well. So we have to think about always the both sides. We cannot just like nourish our body and forget about the spiritual side, forgetting about doing the charity and all the other laws that we can see and study, for example, on the Spirits book. So we have like 10 different laws, and for example, it starts talking about the law of labor is one of the laws, and we have to follow that. And it's really important to see because it's talking a little bit about the animals. And even the animals, we have the divine providence. So God's not to let like a lot of animals starve, so they make food available for those animals. But the animal is not going to be sitting there waiting for the food to come from the heaven and in their mouth, for example. They will wake up early, they go hunt and do all their like activities to get food. And the same thing is for us. We have to be prepared to work for our food, our clothes, our houses, and everything from the material world. And that's the idea. And that's why it's saying that the law of labor is mandatory. We have to do labor. Otherwise, we are not going to be able to maintain our physical body and everything. Everyone knows that if you're not kind of like not using, for example, your brain to think, you're going to get like diseases related to memory loss. That is one. I forgot the name of the disease that usually when you get old, Alzheimer, you forget things because it's not always the case, but sometimes it's because you haven't used your brain for example, after you stop like working, so you got retired and then stop doing everything, and then you're going to get those consequences because you stop using the brain basically. And the same thing can happen with other parts of your body or other things that you should always be exercising, and because you don't do it, you're going to lose that ability. And yeah, I think that's all. Carol?
I was going to say, stop speaking Portuguese and you start forgetting. Yeah, I think it's quite nice that on this part about the daily, when he talks about daily bread, he says something that we say a lot at the study group. Probably something that we talk about it almost every week. That is, when you're praying, pray for, instead of praying for bread, you pray that you are physically able to go and work for it, that you are that we have the tools to find the bread, to bring the bread home, and not that it comes to us like Andrea said, by magic from heaven. You just sit and wait for something to come. So it's important that when we're praying. So instead of praying for patience, that we need to understand that if we do, we are probably going to be given the tools to gain more patience. So our patience is going to get tested more often until we actually learn how to control our temper, how to deal with different types of situations, and still be nice and cordial to other people. So if we are asking for more challenges, they will keep coming, right? So it's not that things don't come exactly the way we ask for them. You know, if we ask for that is really hard to pray, asking for specific things, especially when they are material, that we should be searching for this spiritual nourishment when we pray, that we are praying for strength, that we're praying for other people, that we're praying for that we are praising God, that we are searching for support to carry on with our lives and our challenges in this incarnation. Not and obviously we can always ask for help and understand that help comes in different ways, that we are always supported, and that if we remember being in tune with this friendly spirituality, we will receive support, that we are daily receiving a huge amount of blessings, of possibilities by being here, by being healthy, by having a job, by having a family or having friends. This is already a huge amount of support and opportunity and tools for us to do more than just the basic for other people and for ourselves, and to keep evolving in this life. And in the first part, when he talks about yeah, like Andrea said, it completes a bit of what I said in my first comment about how we are going to reach that heaven will be here on earth, and it talks a little bit about which part. That if we are obeying the laws, and it talks about this on number 2 also. If we are obeying the laws, if we're listening to what has the seed that has been planted in our spirits, that we all know what is right and wrong, that we are all going to be going towards this the heaven that the prayer talks about. So as long as we are listening to God and God's laws, slowly we are going to keep moving forward, keep moving that way. So it's just a nice way to put that heaven will not come to earth. It's the other way around, but we are going to keep climbing and reaching there.
I believe people would stop complaining when we understand that God is the source of all wisdom and nothing happens by chance and everything has a right and fair reason to be there. And instead of look for solutions, sometimes we receive strength and more energy to overcome some every obstacles. And it's also connected with the next step, the next item. Um, when they say daily bread, sometimes it's not only for food, but the intelligence and our capacity to learn with our every sign in the life and with our mistakes, with other mistakes, and find solutions and to provide our own food, our own bread, as said, to the labor. So we gave us some tools, and those tools are our mind, our arms, and our capacity to provide um, our bread, daily bread.
Yeah, I think number 3 can be a really good test for our faith because when we actually able to say that God wills is better, is superior to our will, it's easy to say, we can say that, but in real life, when everything is going well, yeah, oh, thanks God, my projects are going great, everything is working well. But if something is not really going well, it's really hard to say, God, you're right, your laws are perfect, I really enjoy what's going on now. So it's not how we are. So when we pray, and if we say that, many times we say, but we're not really feeling like whatever is happening in that moment in our life, we don't understand why that's happening, why things are not working out. And we can, of course, do our part and do our best for things to work out, but sometimes they will not work out. And that's when it comes our understanding, that's when it comes our faith and trust that everything happens for a reason and God's laws are perfect. And maybe this moment that is not working for us will provide something else in the future that will be even much better. So that's, I think, is a really test for our faith. And sometimes we try to even skip that line of the prayer because no, I don't want to say that and go to the next one, but we really shouldn't. Yeah, and I think the daily bread, if people comment on that.
Do you have time for one more?
And I'm not sure, but I think if we pray, for example, ask about the patient,
Yes.
God or the universe or give us some situation that we have to perhaps warn the patient.
Yes.
But sometimes we don't understand because why I have to stay in this situation because I just want a patient, but we don't
Yes.
understand.
Yeah, we make that joke a lot.
Yeah.
We ask for patience, and then you get lots of like opportunities to
Yeah,
try out
practice more and more
projects.
and more.
Yeah, that's it.
There is a big difference between what we need and what we want. So there are many things that we want, and sometimes we can compare ourselves with kids that they may want to eat chocolate, lollies, and all of the sweet stuff the whole day. But the parents know they want that, but what they need is actually some veggies, some fruits, and proper foods. So yeah, we are still in that stage that we don't always understand why things are happening. And that's for our learning, that's for our own improvement. And yeah, and when it talks there about complaining, we should not complain when things don't go well. We should be thankful, and we should, of course, on the other hand, we should not, at the same time, okay, I'm not going to do nothing, I'm just going to wait for the bread to fall from the sky. No, we gotta do always our part, but be understanding of the results. And sometimes things will go the way that we think they should go, and sometimes not. So either way, we should always be thankful. But it's a learning for us, not always be able to do that, right?
Yeah, and it's important to learn from all those situations because there will be sometimes that it's not going to be good, and it's not for like it's not going to be better sometimes because we are living in a world that's trials and expiation. So we still have things to go back and redo, and when we're going through that expiation side, sometimes it's not going to be good for us, but we need to understand that okay, it's something that we have done in this life or on the previous one, we have to be faithful that it's going to pass and it's for our learning, and we just need to understand, okay, that's the lesson that I need to learn in this time in my life, and then move on.
Yeah, just remind me of an example that my brother Manny he gives us here sometimes. So because we as spiritists, we believe that we had previous lives and we have future lives as well. So this life can be compared of one episode of a series on Netflix, for instance. And if we just get to season 5, episode 1, you don't know what happened in the previous seasons, and you don't know what's going to come. So what's happening there, many times you're going to be confused and say, why that's happening to me right now? But you didn't see, you don't remember, you not. For our own good, we don't remember our past, why we are here. And so that's why we don't fully understand. And as Andres said, sometimes in this incarnation, we're not going to fully understand. But when we pass away and when the time comes, we can put all the pieces together, see the big picture, and everything makes sense because God is just and everything happens for a reason. I think I like that example.
When you disincarnate, you're gonna get to binge watch the whole.
Oh, imagine like popcorn and some hot chocolate.
It's just gonna get made in a few hours to catch up.
Oh yeah, maybe. Yeah, we can probably move on.
Yeah,
Yes,
we can start.
Cool, awesome. So we start on number 5. I think, yeah. I mean, still number 3, but then 5 is there. So, Spirit's book.
Now we're going to the Spirit's book. So we've been on that chapter 9 for a long time, and is the intervention of spirits in the corporeal world. And here we are going to be reading one question each, and then we're going to read 4 or 5 questions, then we stop, and then we do the round of comments and the same thing. And oh yeah, so we've been talking about, like I said, the name of the chapter, the intervention of spirits in the corporeal world, and then we discuss a lot of how the spirits intervene in our world, how we can always have our protector spirit on our side, helping us make the right decisions, but sometimes we don't listen to that spirit, and then we just listen to the other spirits that don't want us to follow the right path. And that's how we have our free will. So we have both sides helping us, like whispering basically in our ears to do the right thing and to do the bad thing. And we just listen to the one that we are more inclined to. So if you're feeling good, if you're doing good things, you're most likely to follow the advices of that good spirit. But if you're not doing the right things, you're not doing charity, you're not in a good state of mind, you'll probably be choosing the other side. And that's how the spirits intervene in our material world. And then we are talking about each one of those situations. Like I said, we already talked about of the protector spirits, and now we're going to be talking about the influence in the events of life.
Yeah, I think it's important to also highlight that even though spirits can influence our lives, we are the responsible for the choices. So sometimes people tend to blame, oh, I did that because, it was the influence of the spirit, but in the end of the day, we choose what to do, whether good or bad.
So I will start reading. then, let's see.
Oh, and sorry, maybe just clarify that. So the questions, Allan Kardec was the codifier of the Spiritism. So the questions were done by Allan Kardec, and then the spirits they reply, pretty much.
Yep, and in some questions there is a comment below the spirit's
The
answers
answer,
that's
mhm.
made from Kardec as well. So question 525. Do spirits exert any influence on events of life? Certainly, because they conceive you. Do they exert this influence in any other way besides the thoughts they suggest? Do they act directly in the outcome of things? Yes, but they never act outside natural laws. We erroneously think that the action of spirits must only manifest through extraordinary phenomena. We would like for them to come to our aid through miracles, and we always imagine them to be armed with some kind of magic wand. But such is not the case. Rather, their intervention always appears viewed, and what is accomplished through the concourse seems entirely natural. Thus, for example, they cause the meeting of two persons who seem to have met by accident. They inspire someone with the thought of passing by such and such a place. They call a person's attention to a specific point if it will lead to the result they desire. Thus, they work in a such way that individuals, believing they have only followed their own impulse, always retain their free will.
526. Since the spirits can act upon matter, can they cause certain effects with the aim of producing a given outcome? For example, a man's time is up. He climbs a ladder breaks, and he dies from the fall. Did the spirits cause the ladder to break so that the man's fate would be fulfilled? It is certainly true that spirits have an influence on matter, but they do so according to the laws of nature, and not to derogate from them by causing unexpected events at a given moment and contrary to such laws. In the example you have just mentioned, the ladder breaks because it's rotten or because it's not strong enough to support the man's weight. If it were the man's fate to die in this way, the spirits would inspire him with the thought of climbing the ladder, which would then break under his weight. Thus, his death would stem from a natural cause without the need for any kind of miracle.
Question 527. Let us take another example, but one in which the natural state of matter does not intervene. A man is destined to die from lightning. He seeks refuge under a tree. Lightning strikes strike it, and he dies. Did the spirit cause the lightning and direct it at him? And the answer, it's still the same thing. The lightning struck the tree at the particular moment because the event happening according to the laws of nature. The lightning was not directed at the tree because the man was under it, but because he was given the inspiration to take refuge under the tree where lightning would strike. The tree would have been struck anyway, whether the man had been under it or not.
528. A new intention man shoots
Shoots at another.
shoots at another, but the bullet barely scrapes him without hitting him directly. Could a benevolent spirit have deflected the shot? If the individual is not meant to be struck, the benevolent spirit will inspire him with the thought of moving out of his space, or it confuse his aim in such a way as to make him miss. Once the projectile is on this way, it must follow the line of its trajectory.
529. What should be told about magic bullets that are referred to in certain legends and which fatality hits them more? Pure imagination. Humans delight in the malevolence, but are not content with the marvel of natures. May the spirits who direct the events of life be thwarted by spirits who have desires to the contrary. What God has willed must occur. If there is any delay or hindrance, it is the divine will.
Question 530. Light and treatless and mocking spirits cause delight the little difficulties that undo our plans and upset our calculations. In other words, aren't they the authors of what we commonly call the petty troubles of human life? They take pleasure in such annoyances, which are trials for you and are meant to try your patience, but they stop when they see that nothing comes of it. However, you would neither be just nor correct to blame them for all your frustrations, of which yourselves are the main author through your actions, through your own carelessness. Thus, if your dish breaks, it was probably due more to your clumsiness than to the fault of the spirits. Do spirits who cause annoyances behave in such a manner as a result of personal animosity, or do they attack the first person whom they meet out of simple malice and without any set motive? They act from both motives. Sometimes they are enemies whom you've made in this life or in a previous one, and who pursue you as a result. And other times, there is no motive.
Yes. So we've been talking about the influence of the spirits, and you can see a lot of examples that Kardec asks for those spirits to answer and what happened on each one of them. So we start talking about what happens when we die and how we die, and we can see that there is no magic, there is no miracle. The spirits are not going to change the material world to make that law to be accomplished, to be fulfilled. So we can see that, for example, in the lighting example is a really good one. The lighting was already going to struck down that tree, and then they just say, oh, if someone has to pass away on that circumstance, they just going to influentiate that person to go to that tree on that right moment. And that's what we can see on the news sometimes. For example, if a plane crashes and you're going to see that, okay, it was a fatality, a lot of people died, but then I can see always in the news, like 2 days after, oh, I was supposed to go to that plane and something happened and I lost my ticket, I forgot my passport, something happened and I wasn't on that plane, and it was God's will, or they say, if they are not religious, they say, oh, I was lucky that I didn't go, or I was stuck in traffic, or something like that happens. And you can see that there are these spirits acting on the material world. So they're not going to change the plane, the airplane. So it's still going to crash, but who will be there are the people that they need to go through that experience. And then it starts talking about the normal daily things that happens to us, like our frustrations, and then saying that most of these spirits can be like in an evil nature, or they can be just like, because spirits are humans that are disincarnated. So if a human likes to do pranks on everyone, if that person is incarnated, they still want to make those pranks. They want to be, they will be the same person, basically, incarnated or disincarnated. So there will be spirits that just wanted to prank everyone. So, oh, I forgot where I lost my, left my glass, for example, and then they just going to say, oh, don't look at under your bed, for example, or under the drawer, inside the drawer, or something like that. So making sure that you keep looking and not finding your glasses, or sometimes you just fall out and there is no spiritual intervention on this. And, and that's saying that you cannot generalize and say that everything that bad that happens to you is because of the spirits. Yeah. No, most of the time it's your own fault, and if it's something related to a spirit, sometimes it's not your fault in your current life, but something that you did on your past life, that you have a relationship with that other spirit, and because of anger, resentment, or vengeance, the spirit is still attached to you and still following you wherever you go, and things like that.
Which we also can avoid, right? Because it's if we are on the right vibration pattern, the spirit wouldn't be able to approach us and keep trying to play those games or to harm us somehow. So even the type of spirit that approaches is our responsibility, because if we are vibrating on the right pattern, it wouldn't happen. So sometimes when we feel that way, you know, like, oh, there is something else going on, and just remembering that we should be praying, that we should be elevating our thoughts, you know, makes a lot of difference. So breaks up that pattern of like, oh my God, that today, the day everything is going wrong, most of the time is because we are in the wrong vibration, that we are making those waves keep crashing on us. It's because you need to take a breather and maybe take a prayer or take a moment to meditate, change the day, and from now on it's going to go differently. So when we make that decision, things don't go differently by chance or because, oh, so I decided and now it's going to all be fine. But because you changed your vibration, you changed it to a positive state where spirits that are on that positive vibration will be able to approach you and help. If it's the other way around, it's all going downhill, and you go with it. This is where it's gonna go. No one's Jesus take the wheel doesn't work. No one's gonna take the wheel. It's just the car is just gonna go crashing. So we need to take the wheel and take control of the situation. And then this type of spirits that are just trying to have fun, you know, funny that we are here on this life looking for the car keys and etc. They find it funny, our frustration, and it's probably funny if you're looking from outside, you know, it's like, oh my God, look at this person, the key's just there, what are you doing? So if later on we look back, we laugh at ourselves most of the time on why did I lose my mind over something so small, you know? So my mom says a lot, especially when we were smaller, she would say, like, when probably teenagers, she would tell us, like, because I have a sister, so that's us. What importance this will have in 10 years? None. You know, if you look back, very little of what we do now will be important 10 years from now, or when we disincarnate, when we see the whole picture, how important this will be. So, and we lose our patience for so little. We get frustrated, like the text said, for so little. And if we are in the right company, if we have the right people around us, it's much easier to maintain the balance. So it's up to us to be in the right vibration. The last question that we read also makes me think that everything we have, and it talks a little bit about that. Oh, what about the magic bullet? Oh, so this is like an urban legend. This is something that was invented by humans and it doesn't exist. What is the word that they use? It's imagination, so pure imagination. So then when the next question comes, yes, like, oh, but what about those spirits who just playing pranks? This is where the legends, it's not legends, the words, what is it? Lendas, in Portuguese. So, that's where
Legends, I think. It's legends.
Lore, yeah. So that's where the Saci comes from. So that, it's a spirit that would play pranks on people and, it ties up the shoelaces together. So everything we have in mythology, in lores, and in Brazil, right? They have to come from somewhere. So they are things that we see when we sleep, or mediums that see different images of how the spirits portray themselves, and this is where this comes from. Our imagination comes also from the spiritual world. From it, we find inspiration on things that we don't see on our day-to-day, but that we see in our dreams, that we saw in past lives, or we saw when we were disincarnated. So even this type of spirit has a name. In different cultures we call them different things, and in Portuguese we call them sacis. And I always find it really interesting on how all of this that we study, if we search for, it does reflect on our culture and reflect in our daily lives, and it's actually a very simple explanation for it. Anyone else wants to make a comment?
Did you write down, Carol, the last one?
Yeah, it
Was,
is.
so next week we continue.
It's pretty well.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Awesome. Nice.
Cool. So, and now to finish our study group, we have the final prayer. And, so we have the vibrations. So usually do in collective. So we're going to be vibrating to everyone. Basically, if you feel that a need to vibrate to someone specific, you can just keep that person in mind. You can think about the whole country if you want. And after that, we have the final prayer as well.
Some music. Or DJ Carol. Let's again close our eyes, relax our bodies and our minds. Listen to this calm music that help us connect with the superior plan. Let's use this positivity that we have in this room. Unite our thoughts and our feelings to do some vibrations. Let's start with our planet, this beautiful place that's also our school. Every day give us the opportunity to learn and become better. Let's embrace the earth and vibrate lots of peace, harmony, and love. Let's especially take these positive fluids to the nations where conflicts and war is still happening. Also, for all those countries where poverty is still really big everywhere. Let's also vibrate and remember those that are sick physically or mentally in the hospitals, on the streets, or at home. Let's vibrate, also take them some faith, some courage, so they can be reminded that suffering is temporary and the crisis will pass and things will get better. Let's also vibrate to the kids that are in orphanages, to the kids that are maybe on the streets without a home, without some shelter, that they can receive our kindness, our love, and again, lots of courage so they can overcome the difficulties. Let's also remember our brothers and sisters that have passed away, especially the ones that recently passed away and is still maybe a bit confused and not sure about the new phase, the new situation. Let's wish that they receive consolation, explanation, so they can move forward with their journey. Let's also think about our brothers and sisters that are in prisons, that temporarily lost their freedom. Let's send them also consolation, hope and faith, because everybody will have a new chance. No one is left behind. Bringing now closer to our current situation, current life, let's vibrate to our family members. Doesn't matter the distance, we can embrace them with our love. Also vibrate to our friends. And we can also use the moment to think about someone that we know that's going through harder situation at the moment, so they can receive strength, that they can receive guidance to overcome, to go through the situation, learn from it, and become even better and stronger after that. And now we can open our hearts, our minds to receive benefic fluids as well. So we can spread these fluids, distribute wherever we go. to the others that are around us. Dear God and Jesus, our friends, would you like to say thank you so much for this opportunity to be here, the opportunity of learning, of reflection. We also would like to say thank you to our spiritual friends that are guiding us, helping us daily, that we can do our part so they are near us, giving good guidance. Thank you very much. That we can all keep this positive energy and distribute everywhere we go. And that tonight we can all go in peace and meet again in the next opportunity. Thank you. So good.
Thank you very much. We have some water at the back. I will see you everyone.